SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biztalk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the Biztalk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biztalk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sent, and here sharing hosting duties with me this morning is Terry Pinch. Terry, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic despite the extreme cold. I'm still enjoying my winter.
You know, winter's more than half over. Would you believe that?
No.
Fair enough. Okay, moving right along, listeners. Today our guests are Ben and Sharon Henke. Ben and Sharon are the owners of our little farm, which is located on 5 scenic, beautiful acres just outside of New Holstein in Calumet County. Ben and Sharon, they specialize in growing ancient acorn wheat, and with that, they do many other fruits and vegetables on their land. Additionally, Ben and Sharon are in the process of building a commercial kitchen and farm store at their location, and that should be completed this spring. Is that correct, guys?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay. All right. Our little farm kitchen will specialize in products sourced from acorn wheat. They're also going to have, of course, other favorites from the area there as well. And Ben, Sharon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
We appreciate this opportunity.
I just want to give listeners an opportunity to get to know you a little better. Could you maybe share your background with listeners so they have an idea of where all this started and where you guys are heading?
Sure, you bet. So I grew up in a little town, Nishkoro, Wisconsin. And after high school, I went to Rain Park Technical College, and I worked in local ag repair shops and eventually started my own repair business in 2006.
And then, yep, I grew up in the Fond du Lac area. I've had jobs in accounting and as a secretary. Back in the day when I was younger, I was worked in restaurants, that kind of thing. But in 2013, I left my paying job and I went to help Ben at his repair business.
So that opens up a whole can of worms. And were you guys married when you went to help him, or did start? Oh, yeah. Okay.
We've been married. It'll be 36 years, I think.
Okay. So. All right. Okay. So, well, let's go right into the discussion this morning on the agricultural piece of your business. Do you have deep roots in agriculture and food production before that? It doesn't sound like maybe you do, but maybe you do.
Oh, so the deepest ag roots that I have is when I was little, about 6 years old, my dad planted a row of cucumber for every kid. So I was in charge of my row, and then we would take that to the pickle factory. So that's pretty much it, other than I did pick some stones at my stepfamily's farm when I was a teenager. But that's about it. And the food production, that just goes back in the day when I worked at like Wendy's.
Okay.
And that's my experience with food production.
Okay. Ben, what's your background?
Well, I always kid Sharon that when she was 6 years old picking pickles, that's when she first realized that there's money in agriculture.
Okay.
So I grew up on a small dairy farm, had jobs at other larger farms until I moved away from home. Also then when Sharon and I got married and we moved to the Chilton area approximately 35 years ago, and then we lived in town. We had a small farm just outside of Chilton, and we did raise a small herd of beef cattle. And then eventually when we moved to our little farm, we milked a cow for like 2 years.
Okay. So we're not talking you've been on, managing hundreds of head or anything like that. This is a newer experience for you both when it comes to running a farm, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that origin story then. Did you wake up one morning and said, hey, let's create our little farm? Or maybe you could give a little bit of the details behind that, because I'm sure that's not how it happened.
No, not at all. So when we moved to our property, we thought this would be the perfect location for a farmer's market or a market garden. So in 2010, we went to UW-Madison and we took a course on market gardening, because we always knew that we wanted to get to there at some point in time, but we just didn't know when. And so in 2022, that's when it kind of all fell into place. It took us a little while to get there, but we did. So in 2022, we started our garden boxes, and we knew we wanted to do the market garden. And then 2023, in January, it became legal to sell freeze-dried food through the cottage rule, person to person. So, and we had a freeze dryer that we had purchased a few years earlier, and it was such good quality. We thought, perfect, we'll bring this to the farmer's market. It would have our fruits and vegetables in there, and then we would supplement a little bit of it with our sprouted einkorn wheat that we just enjoy because it's a good product. You know, we've used it for many years. We liked it. We thought other people would enjoy that as well. So that's basically how it started. We got to that point. Just it was all a matter of timing, and it seemed like it was the right time in 2022.
You said freeze-dried food. Can you maybe give listeners an idea of what that means?
Sure. So it's like dehydrated, but better. So freeze drying, it saves 93% of your nutrients versus dehydrated is less. And the quality is just phenomenal. If you have something sweet like a strawberry, you freeze dry it, it just enhances the flavor and the sweetness. If you have something like a lemon that's tart, it'll just make that much more tart. It just really enhances any flavor that you put in there. We do fruits and vegetables, like the vegetables. There's so much you can play with. The green beans, for instance, I put a ranch seasoning that I make myself, and I put that on there, freeze dry it. It makes a great snack. It's just the possibilities are limitless, and that's what I like about the freeze drying.
And Ben, einkorn wheat, can you maybe give listeners a little bit of background on that? Why is that such a big deal? I mean, isn't wheat just wheat?
Well, yes and no. Wheat is a broad term nowadays. So einkorn wheat is an ancient grain. And what's really fascinating to me is einkorn is the first wheat that ever existed. So from there, you have your other ancient grains like kamut, emmer, spelt. Those are cousins of einkorn. And then we go way off the spectrum to all of our modern hybridized wheats. They were all born and bred from that one source.
Okay. So when you're talking ancient, original, I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of years old, right?
Yeah, there's some articles or some people say it can be traced to 12,000 years ago.
Okay. So that's an interesting that you have a lot of the historical piece there. So what's the difference then nutritionally between einkorn and a traditional wheat product today?
So nutritionally, it's pretty big. You talk about the makeup of the ancient wheat. The einkorn has 14 chromosomes in its structure, which makes it a tougher gluten, different proteins in it. Where all the way up to our modern wheats, we have 42 chromosomes, and the gluten structure is much different.
Okay. Now, you guys mentioned that you were allowed to start freeze drying, and how has regulatory or those types of issues impacted your business so far?
So that was legal for 5 months. And then in May, Dad kept, went back to court and they overruled it. So we had to stop doing freeze drying at that point. So that's at that point is when we brought onto the table of this whole commercial kitchen and farm store, because we'd hate to see that go away because we had such a positive response from our customers on that product. And it would just be a shame that we would let that ruling stop it completely. So we just felt that there was a need for it. And that's why we're basically building the commercial kitchen and the farm store.
So instead of throwing your arms up in the air saying, I guess we can't do this anymore, you guys took the proactive approach and said, we can do this. We just will do it under the way the law's written now, correct?
Right, exactly. So now we're just going to make it legal. So we'll do it in our commercial kitchen, which you can do legally with DADCAP with all Wisconsin rules. So yeah, and then we'll just move forward from there.
What was the motivating factor for you guys deciding to continue? I mean, that's a big undertaking compared to doing what you were doing. And all of a sudden, well, we'll do this. We'll build this building. We'll do that and continue to do it. Why? What was the reasoning?
I think for us, what really drove our thought process was our customers. You know, in that 5 months of freeze drying and having these products to the customers, I mean, the response is there, the demand is there, the quality of product is great. We do simple ingredients without pesticides and chemicals, and that's really what motivated us to keep going.
And the excitement. The customers were excited about this product. I mean, it's easy to get to feed off of that excitement of you feel as though you're really doing something good for the people that are receptive to it. So it's amazing on what kind of feedback can push you towards one way or another.
So how did that gears switch in your mind? I mean, you went from, okay, we can't do it this way anymore. Let's try this. And then what were the next steps in that process then for you at that point?
Well, we had the building, so we just reclaimed and we're using that building now. You know, we sat down financially, thought, okay, where are we with that? I mean, there's a lot of things to look at. I mean, Ben with his repair business, he's also on the town board. We have a lot going on, so you have to make sure that this is going to work in your lifestyle. And do you want to prioritize it? And I think that we both came to the conclusion that we want to be outside more. We want to do this kind of work more, get us out of the shop. I mean, we were spending many, many hours in the shop, too many hours. And at that point, you just miss the outdoors. And so this is our way of getting what we enjoy out of life.
So what is the current structure then as far as your business plan, your business model? When I talk about you opening in the spring, what will that lead to? What other things will be happening that will get you to that point, and then what will be happening after you open in the spring?
So, I guess part of that too is getting through the process, like with DATCAP, for people that are familiar with that, that's the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. They regulate like all the certified kitchen spaces. So once we get through that, you know, we're continually working on the kitchen space right now. And
so we're going to start out with, we'll continue doing farmers markets because we really enjoy that feedback, that positive interaction with the customers, and we get a great way to meet more people. So then we'll also be having store hours, but then we'll also be able to, hopefully, now that we'll have the commercial kitchen, we can get into stores. You know, I'd like to do local shops, smaller local shops, and then also do online sales and then be able to ship our products. So we already have a magazine that we want to put our ad in and then ship. Our sourdough bread is what we really think is going to be a huge item. So I think it's just a matter of getting it out there. There's just not a lot of people doing what we're doing to the extent the sprouting, you know, dehydrating, stone milling it. There's just not a lot of businesses out there that are doing what we're doing. So I don't think it'll be a stretch to get into small boutiques and then to sell online.
And how are you currently getting your product to market?
Right now we do Manitowoc Winter Market. That's on the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And then we also go to Produce with Purpose in Kaukauna, and that's typically the first and third Saturday of the month. We also do pre-orders. So I've got quite a few customers coming this week to pick up.
So they just come right to your present location?
Yep, they pre-order.
Yeah.
So they let me know what they want, and then I bake
Pick it up there.
Yep.
Okay.
We figure out a time, and they just pick up here. We're also doing Rico Rain in Calumet and Sheboygan, and what that is, that's like an online farmers market through Facebook. So then the consumer can go, you know, ask to be a member, and then they can see everybody's menu. So like the Sheboygan and Calumet, we've got meat providers, bakers, honey, just a great variety of local farmers. So we're part of that as well.
Okay. Well, I think we've hit the perfect time for our first break. You're listening to Biztalk with Score on WHBY, and we will be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biztalk with Score on WHBY. Glad you're listening in this morning. Our guests this morning are Ben and Sharon Henke from our little farm in the Holstein area. And before continuing our conversation with Ben and Sharon, I'd like to just take a moment to tell you about Score Northeast Wisconsin. Score Northeast Wisconsin serves an 18-county area in Northeast Wisconsin that also includes the county of Menominee in Michigan. We have more than 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering to entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session, And or to learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. And remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And to support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. And finally, this reminder about the Biztalk with SCORE podcast. The Biztalk with SCORE podcast brings you the same real-world information and insights from experienced entrepreneurs and business leaders, just like Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. However, the Biztalk podcast is available when you are. So listen and subscribe today, tomorrow, or whenever you want. Available on most podcatchers and podcast apps. So with that, we'll get back to the program, and I'll turn the show back over to you, Terry.
Okay, one of the things I've really liked since I've been involved with SCORE is working with small business owners or on the show talking to small business owners and seeing how they handle pivot points in their business because they're so innovative and you see so many neat things happen. Well, you, Ben and Sharon, you've talked already about the commercial kitchen and having to put that in. And so there's a couple things I want to follow up with that on. Is first, putting a commercial kitchen in isn't cheap and isn't necessarily straightforward. How did you go about learning how to do this and deciding it was the right thing to do?
So that's a good question. I guess going back to the very basic part of it, rotates around some of our products that we were able to do for a short time. Sharon mentioned the freeze drying, and our inspiration was we just couldn't let that go. We couldn't let it fall by the wayside. So then we started talking to other bakery owners and other people that own commercial kitchens, and there was at least 2 or 3 of them that were key in helping us. And so then we realized we have to work with DATCAP on that. And so that's where it started. We contacted DATCAP, got a booklet, read all the requirements, and then started, I think one of the first things that we did was came to the conclusion we have a building on the farm that we could reclaim for this purpose. From there, we engineered a set of plans between us and a friend of ours, nice set of drawings that DATCAP would be happy with, and just walked through the process like that. And we didn't let it intimidate us. You know, if you stopped and looked at the whole thing, the big picture, what it takes, you know, you might rethink what you're doing, but we just took it one little baby step at a time. And I don't know how far through the process we are, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. The other part of this is it's not just putting in the commercial kitchen, but you've already shown a little bit of how much you're thinking further ahead and what it means. But in order to pay back that investment and really make it successful, you've got to have some plans for the future. So if you look at farmers markets and now adding your store, does that mean you're going to have to add staff at some point?
So we haven't really thought that far ahead yet, but we do have one of Sharon's sisters coming in to help us at times next year. You want to fill in blanks on that?
Sure. She's retiring. So, of course, we snatched her up right away. And the free room and board. She lives in California, so she'll be basically staying with us throughout the busy season. So right there is she's a great help. She's come back every year for the last 2 years to help us out during the garden, and she'd go to farmers market with us. So she was real eager to be involved. So that's the one person that we know for sure. that we're adding to our workforce.
Our workforce. And then the other thing that kind of took me by surprise is so people are excited when we go to the markets, and we've had a couple people say, that's really cool. I'd like to be involved, and asked us to think about apprenticeships. We're really not sure how that works yet, but if we get to the point where we're seriously overwhelmed, and I think a lot of businesses get to the point where it becomes quite obvious when you need to add labor.
So as you look at where you're going already, though, you see a future where you are going to need help. Does that scare you at all as you start to think through that?
I would say it doesn't. I mean, when I think of our other business that we've had that one since 2006. We've had added labor on and off with that one. So I would say no. You know, we seem to figure it out.
It's much of the farmer's life. So as you look forward then with the store, with your other business, with the commercial kitchen, how do you feel about the direction you're heading over the next 5 years?
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah. Some really neat opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we've reached the point where we're going to take our next break. You're listening to Biztalk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biztalk with Score. This week we're talking to Sharon and Ben Henke from Our Little Farm. Before we get back to Sharon and Ben, I want to give you a quick education update. If you go to our website, score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, and click on the Workshop and Events tab, you're going to be introduced to literally thousands of educational opportunities on all aspects of business. The one thing I did want to mention is that some of our national offerings now have small fees of $10 to $20, but the vast majority of the webinars that are on the site are free still, those made by local and regional SCORE chapters. And I just wanted to mention one topic, and that's creating business plans. There is a regional online workshop coming up on January 21st. It's called Create Your Business Plan, and it's at 11 o'clock Central. And I'm just mentioning it because there's a lot of people work through business plans. They just need some help to kind of talk through aspects of it. And so this is one that's out there, but there are literally, if you go on that site, there's hundreds of pre-recorded or future webinars coming up on how to help with your business plan. So just wanted to mention that again. It's score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, and it's on the Workshops and Event tab. So with that, I'm going to turn you back to Rick.
Thanks, Terry. I guess I'd like to get back to the conversation a little bit when we first started the program this morning on the wheat that you're using, the einkorn wheat that you're using. With that ancient wheat seed, what, if anything, different from today's agricultural practices do you need to do when you're working with something that only has the 14 chromosomes versus the 40 plus that most do today?
Yeah. So first off, one of the noticeable things about it is it's got a hull on it, and so for us to use it, we have to dehull it. But when we plant this wheat, it's been a little bit of a learning curve. You know, our first year, it was kind of a last minute decision. We had a little bit of acres to plant it on. So we just went in there, no-tilled it, and it just didn't like that. And so no-till is what we were trying to get this figured out and accustomed to, but we found that soil health is the key. You know, you have to have your microbiology correct. So we're using cover crops to retain moisture and then also suppress the weeds. And we've also had some trials where, the weeds will tend to outrun this crop as well. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve. We've had 2 successful seasons growing and harvesting. And so we've learned a lot, and we're really looking forward to this next season. And I got to say that each season we've tried different methods and different results each time. So we're getting better at it.
I'm assuming there's no fertilizing that's being done as far as anything that's not organic. Is that correct?
Correct. We don't use any synthetic fertilizers or pesticides in our system. We use a regenerative agriculture system, which that's kind of a broad term, but we also do things organically as well. So that being said, like our fertility has to be cover crops, like a multi-species cover crops to cycle carbon into the soil all the time. If you think about a wheat, it's about a 90-day crop, and which in Wisconsin, some of our growing seasons are turning into 120-day or 180-day seasons. And so we found that, you know, you want to keep that ground green as much as possible. So you almost have 2 seasons, your cover crops and your cash crop as well.
So why is this type of agriculture, this type of product so important to agriculture today? I mean, why do we need that here in northeastern Wisconsin or in the United States?
Well, one thing we've found is, you know, you have the law of supply and demand, and we found that the demand is there. Once people get a taste of it, so that's really what drives us. And so
nutritionally, what's the impact as far as the acorn versus processed wheat seeds that are used today?
So nutritionally, the einkorn is higher in protein, lower in gluten. It has a different gluten structure in it. And
right. So it's your body reacts to it so much differently. They're finding studies done that it doesn't raise your glycemic level. And like Ben said, it's lower gluten, higher protein, more minerals and vitamins than the typical hybridized wheats that are out there. And then we're taking it one step further in our kitchen where we're sprouting it. So then what that does is opens up that wheat berry where all those vitamins and minerals are so much more easily accessible to your gut. And then we're dehydrating it and stone milling it, which stone milling also is another added nutritional value to that wheat. So I think once that people realize the benefits of enjoying this wheat, I think it will become more of a demand and that maybe more farmers will look at planting this wheat variety.
So can I add just a couple things on that? So, you know, we talk about the health benefits, but I like to talk about the flavor. It's amazing. And also in our modern agriculture system, it also adds a different diversity. I mean, it's a little bit lower yielding crop. You know, this maybe isn't something somebody's going to plant, say 400 or 500 acres of it, but we've seen other farmers in the area using it on smaller areas, you know, just to add that diversity into their crop rotations.
So it's the taste, is it an acquired taste or is it just knock you out right away because it's different, different?
It knocks you out. Yeah, different can go either way, but it knocks you out.
I have 2 questions to follow up on that. First of all, does it bake differently? So when you use it in baking, is it baked differently?
It is. So the hydration level or rate is different. So you do have to play around with it a little bit more than, you know, you can't just swap out an all-purpose flour for this einkorn wheat. It does bake different, but it's such a heartier flavor without that heaviness in your stomach. The wheat is like almost sweet. It's like sweet and nutty. It's just got such a flavor. Your typical all-purpose flours, there's really no flavor to it. You know, It's basically taking on the sugar or chips, whatever you're putting in there is the flavor. Whereas this actually has a flavor and it's phenomenal. It's just, once people try it, they are just blown away on how flavorful it is. It's just fantastic.
Okay. And as you use this wheat, are there enough people in the area growing this type of wheat that you'll never have issues with supply in addition to what you can supply? Or is it something that there's not a lot of it around yet?
I think there's not a lot of it around. I've known just a couple other farmers, and some guys will do it like a 1-year trial and then they realize they don't want to do it. But I really think so far, like our supply is keeping up with the demand, but we see that building more and more. So not only are we using it through the kitchen, I've had people ask me if they could buy some of the the unhulled wheat just to plant in their gardens, or they'd like to see it too. So there's that. We've had people that request to buy the flour, once we get going with the flour grinding and get that certified as well. So yeah, I really see this taking off to the point where everything that we can produce, we're going to be able to sell it in some form.
So then as your business grows, you start to work with other farmers to have them grow some of it for you as well, probably?
Yeah, that's quite possible. And actually, there's one other farmer that, I've helped with harvest at this point. And so once we figure out the dehulling, well, that's another source too. We may be dehulling for other farmers that want to use it in some fashion.
So could you walk listeners through, kind of switching gears a little bit here, the kitchen and the actual property development that you're doing, and walk through listeners, what's going to be included in that building besides just the kitchen, and why would I want to hop in my car and drive out to beautiful New Holstein?
Sure.
First of all, samples.
Samples are always good. That'll get me in my car. Okay.
So this is a building we reclaimed that we had on the farm. And so we've kind of got it split up in thirds. So we've got 1/3 of it. That's our certified space for the kitchen. You have the traditional things like any certified kitchen. We've got our ovens, prep area, prep sink, wash sink, and then also the 4-place sink for taking care of the washing all the hardware. So you move into the next third. We have a freeze drying room. And then also we have a space there that we're going to certify for grinding the flour and doing some of that processing. So then we go to the last third, which will be our retail space, the farm store. We also have ADA bathroom in there, which is required when you open for business. And then we have kind of a neat little area that we really weren't thinking about, but because we had to put in a ceiling for the certified kitchen, that created about 900 square feet of upstairs space that eventually we'll do like a cold storage area and possibly even some sort of a break room up there.
Okay. And so what type of products are you going to be selling? We've talked at length about the wheat itself, but how are you developing? What kind of products are you developing with that wheat?
With the wheat.
So, or in all the other things that you might be offering as well. Don't just let me limit you to the wheat.
Sure. So you want to take the wheat part?
Sure. So we'll be doing our sourdough bread, which will include, English muffins and pizza crusts, bagels, all that kind of bread bakery. And then we also offer the cookies and tarts, bars and cakes. And then we'll, of course, do our freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. And then we'll also, during the summer months and fall months, we'll have our fresh fruits and vegetables. And even we are experimenting or playing around with having our carrots and our beets in the ground yet. We covered them up with like a 6-inch layer of straw, and we're able to dig them out this time of year yet. So what we want to do is be able to offer carrots and beets and who knows what else during the winter months that are fresh picked. I don't think a lot of people are doing that. I think they're picking them in the fall and then just storing them. So that's something that we want to look at as well. And I'm not sure if we will be putting in other small business items in there. We'll have to wait and see how our space goes with adding that flour mill grinding section to our kitchen. That's taken out some of our supply rooms. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm hoping to offer some retail space to other small businesses.
Okay. And what kind of challenges have you run into so far on the project and even from the beginning of the business that you've had to deal with and face as you've gone along?
As far as the regulatory, I don't want to say that's been pretty easy, but it's been a challenge. Just learning what's required. That's probably the biggest thing. And we're working very closely with DATCAP and some of the regulators and inspectors with that. But we're not afraid to ask questions, and so you can't be afraid to ask questions. That's what the people are there for in those agencies. And I don't know if they get tired of us asking or not, but that's the key when you're going through some of this.
And I know getting on schedules for people that like the plumbers and heaters and, the outside, tin and that kind of thing, just being patient throughout that process because everybody's busy. But, so we're on somebody else's time schedule, which we're fine with. I mean, you just got to kind of roll with it, but it could be intimidating to other people or frustrating, but, everybody's busy, which is a good thing for all the small businesses.
That's one thing that we found out through this whole process is from the beginning, even with the engineering right from the start, we've come to enjoy the whole process because we ultimately know where it's leading us to.
You talked about working with the folks like at DATCAP. Did you have that expectation going into it when you first picked up the phone and said, "Hey, DATCAP, I need your help"? Did you expect that at all? That it would just be? Sounds like you're describing to me a pretty seamless and pretty good positive process.
It has been for the most part. Again, it just goes back to you can't be afraid to ask questions, and getting the information. Like I talked about the information packet, and studying it and learning, just as much about the regulations as they know. That helps.
Okay. What advice would you give to somebody who's out there thinking maybe they got inspired by what they've heard from you this morning? What advice would you give them as before they take that first step towards developing an agriculturally based business?
So if anybody's thinking about agriculture, young or old, large farms, small farms, I would say, we can't do the same things that we've always done over the last 100 years. You have to think outside the box.
And don't do the same thing everybody else is doing. You have to find your own niche, find something that you enjoy doing and then do it.
And then also, you have to go out and create your own markets. Before we started doing this, it just didn't exist in this area. I mean, it does exist. There's other larger companies doing einkorn flours and grains. But as far as locally, we kind of had to establish our own market for it and get, like an old friend of ours used to say, you have to get the flavors out there. And then that drove demand.
And the education to inform people what einkorn is. So many people don't know what that is. And so once they understand it and they, you tell them to go do their own research as well, they come back and they're ready to try it or they have tried it. And
how did you get comfortable marketing this? Because neither of you are trained marketers per se, although you're very, very effective at it and very good at it. But if someone's really worried about doing this because they don't know how to market or do marketing, what would you suggest to them? I
believe if you truly believe in something, if you really are excited about it, that shows through. It's an easy sell then. If you truly enjoy it, it's just so incredibly easy. If you're doing something that you believe in, and it's just easy.
Yeah, and we found that we're excited ourselves, and that comes through when you talk to people, and then that gets them interested and want to see, hey, what's this all about? So you have to be able to take that about your product or whatever you're producing and convey that to the people.
And don't be shy about it.
Yeah. So looking forward on the calendar, a couple months, 3 or 4 months into the future, it's a beautiful mid to late spring day, and there's going to be a grand opening at your facility. Can you maybe give listeners an idea of what kind of things you're planning on for that event, or if you haven't yet, what kind of things you might be thinking of doing?
Well, first we've got an event March 28th at our farm. We've got 8 vendors total that are going to be there. So we've got a great variety of meats to specialized honeys to sourdough to elderberry, and we have kick-ass cheese there. It's just going to be a great little event. So we'll have that March 28th. And then we haven't quite visualized yet what our grand opening is going to be like. I'm sure once my sister Patty comes on board, the wheels will start turning, and I'm sure we'll come up with
Gonna have a
something.
California flair.
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe we'll get Wolf and Fox out there, a little winery. Who knows? But it'll be fun. It'll be a great day.
And when you look at this process so far, what's been most rewarding about it to you guys?
We have enjoyed this whole process. It's, we've built home and we've built our other shop, and this is just so incredibly relaxing that we're just taking as we get it. We're making good decisions instead of rethinking everything. We're just taking our time doing this, and it's just been such a joy. I think that we weren't expecting it to be this.
We weren't expecting it to be this much fun, I guess, if you want to say, because anybody that's built a house, that's not stressful at all, right? And this hasn't been, same thing with our repair shop, because you're on a timeline and it's always go, go, go. We're here. We're just taking it one step at a time and,
enjoying the process.
Take a look around and see what we've accomplished, and then, okay, what's next?
All right. With that, we've reached the time for our final break. You're listening to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back. We'd like to thank our sponsors for their generous support of Biztalk. Haley and Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for the future. Haley and Associates, personal connection, positive results. Wherever you are in life or the life of your business, Johnson Financial Group works to match the banking and wealth services needed to help you complete your mission. Thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. It is the latest business news and topics for this region. We are grateful for the support of Community First Credit Union. At its core, Community First is a community of member owners where people work together to improve their financial well-being and help one another. New North, the Regional Marketing and Economic Development Corporation, is an active supporter of SCORE. The New North facilitates economic growth and helps people in this region live their best lives. Since 1919, Baird has guided families through investment, trust, estate, and tax planning advice. So no matter what the future brings, you can be confident you're ready, because your family is Baird's focus. And finally, we would like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation to Biztalk and SCORE Northeast Wisconsin. And with that, we'll turn back to Sharon and Ben for the final time. Could the two of you let listeners know how they can contact you and where they can find you?
Sure, we can be contacted on Facebook, Our Little Farm, WI.com. That's our website, but also on Facebook, Our Little Farm, WI. Send us a message or contact us and respond on Facebook.
And come out to the store when it opens up in the spring as well.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. So as we wrap up and you look back at this adventure you've gone on over the last little while, what's the one learning you would share with other people interested in doing this?
So one thing that's really kind of taken me by surprise is the response we've had at the markets. Late 2022, when we started doing our first farm market and explaining to people what we were going to do and when our products got excitement built around that. It just kind of energizes us. It energizes us too to come home and put in the hard work and keep doing what we do.
Excellent. So first of all, we'd like to thank you for being on the show. It's great to see a business that's started small and has had some changes that it had to resolve and deal with, and has come up with a really good plan to work its way through. And we'll be interested in watching how you go forward, because you've got a great attitude for handling this. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you as well.
Okay. So for listeners, you've been listening to Biz Talk with SCORE and WHBY, and thank you to WHBY for all their support. If you want to hear previous episodes, you can go to our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin and find the last 8 years or so of shows. Or you can go to podcatchers like iTunes and Amazon, and you'll find episodes since the beginning of 2024. We've actually been doing the podcast that way for about 18 months now and really appreciate all the support that we've gotten. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.